The company that gets rich from an idea is almost never the one that had it. Apple and Microsoft didn't invent the thing that made them. McDonald's didn't. Facebook didn't. These are $8 billion empires built on other people's ideas, and the forgotten people who got a handshake, a few $100s, or nothing at all. Let's start with the most valuable idea ever left on a table. In 1979, a young Steve Jobs walked into a research lab in California called Xerox PARC and saw the future. Xerox's own scientists had already invented it. A screen with windows and icons you could click, a little device called a mouse, text that looked on screen exactly like it would on paper. The modern computer years early. Xerox, a photocopier company, had no idea what it was sitting on. In exchange for a chance to buy Apple stock, they gave Jobs a full demonstration. Jobs walked out and built the Lisa, then the Macintosh. Then Bill Gates saw those and built Windows. When Jobs accused Gates of stealing, Gates reportedly replied, "We both had this rich neighbor named Xerox, and I broke in to steal the TV set, only to find that you had already stolen it." Xerox invented the interface the entire world now uses. Apple and Microsoft became two of the most valuable companies in history. Xerox got a little stock and a footnote. But sometimes the idea isn't taken from a lab. Sometimes it's taken from the two brothers who built it with their bare hands. In 1948, two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, reinvented the restaurant. In San Bernardino, California, they built the Speedy Service System, a kitchen run like an assembly line, food in seconds, dirt cheap. It was genius. It was theirs. Then a struggling milkshake mixer salesman named Ray Kroc walked in, saw the lines out the door, and saw an empire. Kroc convinced the brothers to let him franchise it, and slowly he took it. In 1961, he bought them out for $2.7 million. But the crucial part, a handshake promise of 1% of all future royalties, was left off the paper. That 1% would be worth hundreds of millions a year today. The brothers never saw a cent of it. Kroc even opened a new McDonald's down the street from their original restaurant, which he'd forced them to rename, and drove it out of business. Ray Kroc's gravestone calls him the founder of McDonald's. The brothers, whose name is on every golden arch on Earth, were written out of their own story. The next idea wasn't just taken, it was taken from a woman trying to warn us about exactly this. In 1904, 30 years before Monopoly, a woman named Lizzie Magie patented a board game. She called it the landlord's game. And here's the twist, she designed it to attack greed. Magie was an activist. Her game was meant to teach players how landlords and monopolists crush everyone beneath them. It was a warning. The game spread by word of mouth for decades. Then, in the 1930s, a man named Charles Darrow learned a version of it, copied the board, drew it up, and sold it to Parker Brothers as his own brilliant invention. Darrow became the first millionaire game designer in history. Parker Brothers, realizing Magie held the original patent, bought it from her for $500. No royalties. Monopoly has since sold hundreds of millions of copies. The woman who invented it, to warn the world about exactly this kind of greed, died in near obscurity, her name left off the box. Our next company paid even less for the idea that made it a giant, about $50,000. In 1980, IBM, the biggest computer company on Earth, needed an operating system for its brand new personal computer. They came to a tiny software firm called Microsoft. There was just one problem. Microsoft didn't have an operating system. So Bill Gates and Paul Allen did something audacious. They found one, a program nicknamed Kudos, the quick and dirty operating system, written by a programmer named Tim Patterson at a small company called Seattle Computer Products. Microsoft bought the rights for around $50,000. They renamed it MS-DOS, licensed it to IBM, and crucially kept the right to sell it to everyone else. Every PC that followed ran Microsoft's operating system. That $50,000 purchase became the foundation of a company that would one day be worth trillions. Tim Patterson got a salary. Seattle Computer Products got a check. Sometimes, though, the original creators don't sell quietly. Sometimes they fight, like the twins who say the whole idea was theirs. At Harvard in 2003, 3 students, The twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss and their friend Divya Narendra had an idea for a social network for college students. They called it Harvard Connection. They needed a programmer. They hired a sophomore named Mark Zuckerberg. For weeks, Zuckerberg told them it was coming along. It wasn't. Instead, they say he stalled them and quietly built his own social network. In February 2004, he launched the Facebook. The Winklevoss twins sued, claiming Zuckerberg had stolen their idea and strung them along. In 2008, Facebook settled for $65 million in cash and stock. It sounds like a fortune, but Facebook went on to be worth over $1 trillion. The idea, the twins say, was theirs helped build the largest social network on the planet, and their share of it was a rounding error. The next creators didn't even get a settlement. They got a patent and had to watch a giant use it anyway. Google's fortune isn't really search, it's advertising. Those little sponsored links you see beside your results, sold by auction, paid for per click. That model is worth hundreds of billions a year. But Google didn't invent it. A company called GoTo.com, later renamed Overture, did. They pioneered paid search advertising, and they patented it years before Google's ad business existed. When Google built AdWords on the same idea, Overture's owner, Yahoo, sued for patent infringement. And here's the tell. Just months before Google's blockbuster 2004 stock market debut, Google quietly settled, handing Yahoo millions of shares of Google stock, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, to make the problem disappear before going public. They paid because they knew. The engine of Google's entire empire was built on someone else's patent. Our next idea was cooked up not in a boardroom, but in a university lab, for a football team. In 1965, the University of Florida's football team, the Gators, kept collapsing in the heat. So a team of university scientists, led by Dr. Robert Kearns, mixed up a drink to replace what the players sweated out. They named it after the team, Gatorade. It worked. The Gators started winning in the fourth quarter, and the drink became a phenomenon. But the university didn't see the gold mine. The rights ended up with an outside food company, which turned Gatorade into a billion-dollar global brand, the drink on the sideline of nearly every sport on Earth. It took a lawsuit for the inventors and the university to claw back a share of the royalties, a fight that eventually earned them hundreds of millions. But for years, the people who actually invented it watched a company they didn't own get rich off their formula. Our last story is the one that cost a man everything because he refused to let a giant win. Robert Kearns was an engineer with a simple, elegant idea. A windshield wiper that paused between swipes, the intermittent wiper, perfect for a light drizzle. In the 1960s, he built it, patented it, and proudly showed it to the biggest car company in the world, Ford. Ford examined his design, took a pass, and then, a few years later, started putting intermittent wipers on their cars anyway. So did Chrysler. So did nearly everyone. They never paid him. They never credited him. Kearns didn't let it go. He sued Ford. He sued Chrysler. He spent decades of his life in courtrooms, representing himself, sacrificing his health and his marriage to prove one thing, that the idea was his. And he won. Millions from Ford, tens of millions from Chrysler. But the victory nearly destroyed him. Robert Kearns proved that a lone inventor could beat the giants, and paid for that proof with his life's peace. He got justice. He just had to give up everything to get it. The interface on your screen, the burger chain on your corner, the game on your shelf, the software in your office, the network in your pocket, the ad that paid for this video, the drink on the sideline, the wipers on your windshield, 8 everyday things, and not one of the companies that got rich from them was the one that dreamed them up. Here's the uncomfortable truth business rarely admits. The world doesn't reward the person with the idea. It rewards the person who captures it. Invention is only half the story, and usually the half that history forgets. So the next time you use something and you assume the company on the label built it, ask who really did. Because behind a surprising number of empires, there's a quieter name, a brother, a woman with a warning, an engineer in a courtroom who had the idea first and watched someone else get rich. Those are the stories we keep here. Subscribe, because the Obscura archives are full of things the world was never supposed to forget.